Yes, about 100 years ago, this area was more like a leisure park for the people from the inner city of Stockholm. They came out here in the weekends, and there were different celebrations and such things. But then the land was purchased by a big company, and maybe 1940, 1950, it was industrialized, we can say, but with very, very low type of industries. It's more like workshops, small sale shops and stores and such things. And there were also bigger shops for building materials and gravel and concrete factories and such things. And then around 1985, we can say that the process, the thinking of Hammarby Sjöstad started really. And there was our town planner at that time, Jan Inge, was the so-called father of Hammarby Sjöstad. Unfortunately, he passed away 2 years ago. But his ideas has been moving on, and the politicians has adopted this. And around 1994, Stockholm started the process of running for the Olympic Games 2004. And at that time, they found that Hammarby Sjöstad would be the place, the central place for the Olympics. And that started the process. All politicians agreed, and everybody went in the same direction. And then we made up the general plan for the whole area. And when 1997 it was decided that the Olympics should be in Athens, this process was already running, and it has been continuously running since then. The major part of the land has been owned by Stockholm City since ever, more or less. But there was an important part on the first phase of the project that was on private land, and there was a lot of small-scale industry and workshops and so on in that area. So that was sold by this company investor to some developers. A great part of it was sold to 3 big developers, JM, Skanska, and HSB, HSB. And the other part, the park area and for the streets and so, that was bought by the city of Stockholm at that time. And this was around 1996. And later the city has sold out different blocks to different developers. It has been different manners depending on the political leadership. Sometimes we have sold all land, and sometimes it has been lease, and so different political views on this. The town planner for this area from the beginning was Jan Inge, who was more or less the father of Hammarby Sjöstad, and his ideas started already around 1985 or so. And there were different ideas, but and he was the leader of the process, we can say, from the town planning view. Unfortunately, he passed away 2 years ago, but we are running on with the same visions. And of course, the vision was to create a completely new part of the city with a new face, new type of architecture, town planning, and also with this environmental program, which became a fundamental part of the program also for the Olympic city. And this was very interesting for the politicians also, so they ran this for many years. And we were still working along with these guidelines. The overall target was really to work with all phases of the environmental questions. So we have a quite general and big program with all kinds concerning energy, of course, but also water, sewage, and all kind of building materials and such things. So it's a very general program, and it also includes things like traffic, and which is very important, the environmental question, for example. The organization within Stockholm working with Hammarby Sjöstad is, from the town planning part, it's 2 or 3 persons. And then we are some project leaders, some project managers on the development office. And altogether, you can say that this planning part is around 10 people. And then we have the part of the project that's running the public works, design, leading of the design, and the actual construction. And they are around 10 to 20 people from time to time. Stockholm has, in Sweden, every city has the monopole, we can say, of the town planning process. So our city planners has been working with this since the beginning of 1990, and together with the development office, which I represent, and we are working closely together in this, but we are also working very close together with the developers. So we always assign the developers in an early phase of the project, and they are involved in the whole detailed planning together with their architects. So even if it's run by the city, still it's very much a joint venture with the different developers. Of course, when the city started this process and decided to go on with this, it's quite great decisions about expenditures that we take before we know the income really. So of course the city takes the risk, even if in principle most of it is later on turned over to the private sector. Also some city-owned companies are building here. But in general we try to balance this, of course. But we are ready from the city to take this risk to get this area started. Otherwise it wouldn't be anything because it's so great. So I don't think a private investor could do this. But we have taken that risk and it has worked out very nicely. So today we are very satisfied with the outcome of Hammarby Sjöstad. As you can see, we have tried to keep a high quality of the environment and of those general infrastructure with nice designs of parks and bridges and art and so. And we think that has been very important also to get this very good impression of Hammarby Sjöstad, which is an important part for the city and for the people who are moving here, buying flats and so on. And I cannot say how much it influenced on the price, but I think it influenced quite much on the final price of the flats. That we have managed to get Hammarby Sjöstad to make it to really a part of the inner city. The prices here are just the same as in the inner city, which was not said from the beginning. We didn't know. We can say that the total expenditure in the city part is around 500 million euros, but the total volume of the whole project with the developers cost is about 3,000 million euros for the whole area. So of course they take in the end the greatest risks, but still we think this will be profitable for the city in the long run. We get more taxpayers and the city is growing and so. What you can learn from Hammarby Sjöstad, I think, of course the environmental program is a very important part, and that can be used in other areas of Stockholm, Sweden and the world. And it has also been used in other areas, other countries. But it's also the town planning process and the project management actually with all decisions, you can say, we have it in our hands really. Of course with approval of the political part and so. But still we can run it all the time and in one direction, even though we of course work very closely together with the mainly private investors, and they take the great risk actually when they build those projects. The organization for this is in total it has varied from 40 down to 20 or 15 persons today, and there are maybe 2-3 town planners who has been working mainly with this project, and then we are around 5-6 project leaders and management, more of the planning phase of Hammarby Sjöstad, and then there is a group of development leaders, project leaders, and so for the actual construction on site, and that's about 10 to 20 people, from different times. Of course, we are trying now. We have some other development areas in the city which are quite big, and at least one which has some similarities with this proximity to the lake, to the sea, and so. And we are trying, of course, to learn from Hammarby Sjöstad and to introduce the same manners in the coming projects. And we have also a great lot of foreign visitors, actually, not least from China and Korea and those countries. And we know that there are cities in China which are not really copies of Hammarby Sjöstad, but they are very much influenced of this. So we are also happy about that. We can put some footprints in other parts of the world.